welcome to this quick tutorial on how to customize the auto-generated graphs in Microsoft Excel. This will be quick, so please feel free to pause and slow things down as you need to. So we're going to start off with the graph Microsoft makes for us. I'm going to select my data, click insert, and then pick the chart type I want, and I want a stacked bar graph in this case. So we can see that this chart doesn't necessarily look as clean as we might want, so let's clean it up just a little bit. I'm going to start off by making it a little bigger so we can work with it. Then I'm going to go ahead and remove all the things I don't want. So in my case, I don't want a chart title because I'm going to have a figure caption, and I don't want these extra little lines. So I'm just going to click on them and hit delete. The other thing that I don't want is the zeros at the end of my axis numbers here, or the 30, because it's kind of taking up space unnecessarily. So I'm going to click on my vertical axis, right click, and then go to Format Axis. When you're in Format Axis, this right menu will appear, and that menu is great for editing all the different elements of your chart. So starting off here, I'll turn this to 25, and then that will close the axis options here. And then I'll also hit number and make this a 0. So now we have a clean looking number section. Then I'm going to go in and do some work on just the general lines and visuals that I have here. So one of the things I want to do first is make sure that I have a line for my axis. So since I'm already on the axis here, I can click to make sure I'm dealing with the little paint instead of the chart this time, and go to the lines and tell it that I want a nice solid line. I can also hit this drop down menu and do the same thing for my horizontal axis. So the drop down will give you all the different elements of your chart that you can start editing and formatting. So I'm going to change the line from being gray to being nice and black. So that's done here. Then there's some things I want to do to my entire chart, and I'm going to do that by selecting the whole chart. And I want to change the font size. So I'm going to go to Home. I'm going to hit 14 to make it a bigger font, and then I'm going to change the color to the automatic black. The last thing I want to do to the whole chart at this point is to give it a nice border. So I'm going to click on the chart, go to Shape Outline, and tell it I want a nice black, thick lined border here. So that's some of our visuals and our changes that we've made with the lines. And another visual change I'd like to make is to move this legend. It's kind of taking up some space at the bottom, and I do have a good amount of space on my actual plot. So I'm going to move that over and then make this just a little bit bigger. So those are the visual changes that I want to make to the lines and some of the locations of items. Then I'm going to go and make some changes to the color of my bars. So you can do that by clicking on the bar itself, and as you can see, it's giving us our options over here. I'm dealing with the paint. I'm not working with the border, but I want to change the fill color, and I want to change the fill color in this case to a dark green. Now, if you wanted to do something like a pattern because you're painting in black and white, you can hit pattern fill instead, and then you can change it to black and white and make each one of your different groups or variables a different color. So I'm going to go with a solid fill. I'm going to make it green, and then I'm going to go to the drop down menu and I'm going to hit group 2. Just clicking that orange one is a little small, it's a little hard to click, so I'm going to select it from my menu, and the same thing here, group 3, and I'm going to make it the brightest, lightest green that we have. So these are my different variables, and they're different colors now. The other thing I want to do is make these bars a little bigger. So if you select any one of them, you'll see there's an option if you're on the little chart icon here of gap width. And so if you made it 0, you'd see they all touch each other, but I don't really want that. I just want them to be a little bit wider. So I'm just going to change that gap width a little bit. And so that's kind of some of the general visuals, and we're almost done here. There are a couple things I want to add to the graph just to help enhance it, and the first thing I want to add is the axis title. So if you click on your whole chart and you go to chart design at the top, you can add things to your chart. Here's the elements I want to add, and I want to add a lovely vertical title. I'm going to click on it, select all that, and type it in. And making sure to include your unit. In this case, it's a percentage. And you can see this is kind of overlapped, which is not great. So if you click on your plot area, you can just move this over and kind of fine tune it so that things are where you want them to be. I think I'd like theirs to be a little bit more spaced out there, so you can kind of fine tune that. And the other thing that I want to add is numbers. Now, you don't have to do this. This is just something that in this moment we've made the decision we're going to add the numbers. And to do that, you can select your whole chart area, go to add chart elements, and add data labels, and tell it where you want the data labels. So in my case, I want them in the center. And there we have it. So we've taken our original graph that looked a little bit like this, if you remember. You know, this kind of more straightforward chart without any aesthetic appeal to it, and we've made some changes so that we now have the numbers, we have colors that we want, we have things a little bit more bold and vibrant, and These are not the exhaustive list of all the things you can do with Microsoft Excel, but they are a good starting point if you want to learn about some of the tools while you are making customizations to your graphs.